IEM collabs are something that seem to be pretty common nowadays, with varying levels of involvement from the person doing the collab. Some have very few changes, probably just a few cosmetic changes or a slight change in tuning from the existing model. Some are collaborations to try to bring out the full potential of a great platform, and some are something completely different, just meant to be an IEM that the person who's doing the collab wants to listen to. Well, today we're taking a look at one such IEM, the Dunu and Gizaudio DaVinci. An IEM that I'm a bit late to post my review on, but here it is. Now for full disclosure, I was able to use this IEM and test it during a review tour, where the IEM was sent to different reviewers to use for a time and then send on to the next reviewer. So I did not get to keep this IEM, and it's already been sent on to the rest of its travels since my time with it. Okay, so the DaVinci is a hybrid IEM that uses 2 dynamic drivers and 4 balanced armature drivers and comes in at about $300. It's a collab between Dunu and Timmy from Gizaudio, and they were able to make something quite special. The DaVinci comes with a good set of accessories, a nice carrying case that is a bit on the larger side, so I wouldn't recommend it for use in your pocket, but it would definitely protect the IEMs and accessories to keep them secure, to put them in a bag or however you want to carry them. It also comes with 3 full sets of ear tips, which are all different shapes and contours for each set of tips, so this gives you a lot more options for fit and comfort. I prefer this over some other IEMs that come with a large selection of tips, but the tips that they offer are all more or less the same shapes and don't really change much from one another on how they fit your ear, so this is nice to have. The included cable is a little bit heavier with a loose braid design, but it does seem to be rather resistant to tangling, and I do like the color that it comes in as it goes well with the overall aesthetic of the IEM. The cable does also include swappable tips to support both 3.5 and 1/4 inch TRS, and also 2.5 and 4.4 balanced. The IEM shells themselves have an overall nice design with wood faceplates that are unique to each unit, and then the rest of the shell is made out of resin. One thing I will say though is that this is a bulky IEM. It's quite large and sticks out of my ear a lot when I wear it. It also has a rather large nozzle that's over 6.5 millimeters, so you may need to experiment with the tips to find the best fit. Luckily I was able to get a good seal and fit when wearing them, despite not always pairing well with larger IEMs, but it just never quite felt like it disappeared in my ear. I was always aware that I was wearing a large IEM. Now for the sound, how to say this? I wouldn't choose this as my daily driver with stock tuning, but it is something that as an alternative IEM, I do quite like them a lot actually. The DaVinci is tuned a little bit closer to the new meta, as some call it, essentially with reduced ear gain and treble compared to Harman in-ear, and also with some of the lower mids below 1 kHz filled in slightly more than the Harman tuck. The thing is, I think that this sort of tuning of the new meta stands out a bit more when the bass is also reduced quite a bit, which when it's tuned that way leads to a very natural sound overall, although it can be a bit less exciting. The DaVinci doesn't do that. It's instead quite bassy and comes across probably more bassy than you may initially guess by just looking at the graph. Also, just a side note, since this IEM was sent on a review tour, that means that multiple people who are on Squiglink have measured the same IEM. This unit is also measured by Hobby Talk, and if I bring in his measurement of the same IEM and the same channel, we can actually see a bit of difference in how our couplers measure. So just a reminder that most reviewers are probably using a clone ISC711 coupler, which have varying levels of tolerances, especially when we get into higher frequencies, which to be honest, you probably shouldn't be paying too much attention to frequencies that high up anyway with these rigs. So just take amateur measurements like mine with a grain of salt. The DaVinci is one of those IEMs that when I listened to it for the first time, I just sort of sat there getting lost in the music. The mids and low treble sounded very smooth to my ear and lacked any harshness around 6 to 8K where I usually have problems with a lot of IEMs. There is a bit of an elevation in the upper treble that does add a bit of extra edge to some songs, but with also having the bass boost, it just overall gives the DaVinci a warm sound signature that still comes across relatively clear and spacious. Unfortunately, the bass doesn't deliver the most defined sound, since it is so boosted and lacks a lower treble to help bring out some of the definition in things like kicks. I do prefer this IEM with a bit of an EQ to lower the bass shelf and also slightly bring down the upper treble, which does in turn also make things like kick drums sound a bit more defined. But for the most part, this is still a very enjoyable IEM that delivers a warm, relaxing listen, while not sounding dull or muffled when it comes to the mid-range or treble. I would definitely recommend this IEM if you're looking for something that's a warmer listen, or even if you plan to EQ a bit, as this IEM is still a very good starting point with a near perfect mid-range to work off of. So I have to say, good job on this IEM, Timmy.